They raised their glasses. Champagne bubbled. My sister smiled like she'd won the lottery. My mother whispered something in her ear and they both laughed. The whole room, cousins, uncles, business partners, they all thought it was over. That Emma had inherited everything. The estate. The company. The legacy our grandfather built from nothing. I sat at the far end of the table. Invisible. The black sheep. The one who left. The one they wrote off. Then the lawyer stood up. He cleared his throat, looked directly at me, and said my name. The room went silent. Emma's smile froze. My mother's hand stopped midair, her glass shaking slightly. Every head turned toward me. And I realized everything I thought I knew about my family was about to shatter. My name is Claire Donovan. I'm 31 years old. And for most of my life, I've been the disappointment. Let me take you back. My grandfather, Robert Donovan, built Donovan Properties from the ground up. Started with one warehouse in Charlotte, North Carolina, back in 1979. He was 26 years old, had $800 to his name, and a dream that everyone told him was impossible. He worked 16-hour days, slept in his truck, ate canned soup for dinner. He bought that warehouse at auction, fixed it up himself, and leased it to a shipping company. Used that money to buy another property. Then another. By the time I was born, he owned 42 commercial properties across 3 states. Warehouses, office buildings, retail spaces. The company was worth over $40 million. He was tough, old school, believed in loyalty, hard work, and blood. He had 2 daughters. My mother, Linda, and my aunt, Margaret. Linda, my mom, married my father, Thomas, a finance guy who worked for Grandpa's company. They had me first, then 3 years later, my younger sister, Emma. Growing up in the Donovan family meant you understood the rules early. Family comes first. The business is everything. You show up. You contribute. You don't question. Emma got it. She understood the game from the time she was 5 years old. She knew how to smile at investors. How to sit quietly during board meetings. How to hug Grandpa at the right moment and tell him she was proud to be a Donovan. I didn't get it. Or maybe I did, and I just didn't care. I was quiet. A reader. I spent hours in the estate library while everyone else networked at dinners. I liked psychology, philosophy, stories about people who built lives on their own terms. I wanted to study psychology, not business. I wanted to live my own life, not be a piece on Grandpa's board. That didn't go over well. When I was 17, Grandpa sat me down in his office. Dark wood, leather chairs, the smell of cigars and old money. Claire, he said, you're going to UNC Chapel Hill Business School. After that, you'll work in acquisitions. I'm building something for you and your sister. But you have to earn it. I looked at him. What if I don't want to do acquisitions? His jaw tightened. Excuse me, what if I want to study something else? Live somewhere else? He leaned back, stared at me like I'd just spoken a foreign language. You're a Donovan. This is what we do. It's what you do, Grandpa. Not what I do. The room went cold. We'll talk about this later, he said. We didn't. I went to UNC. But I majored in psychology. Grandpa stopped coming to family dinners when I was there. My mother would call me furious. You're embarrassing him. You're embarrassing all of us. I'm just trying to live my life. Your life is here. With this family. But it wasn't. I knew that by the time I was 20. When I was 22, I graduated. Emma was 19, already interning at Donovan Properties, already making a name for herself. I got accepted to a graduate program in Boston. Clinical psychology. Full scholarship. I was excited. Terrified. Free. I told my parents at Sunday dinner. My mother's fork clattered onto her plate. My father looked down. Emma stared at me like I'd just announced I was joining a cult. Grandpa was at the head of the table. He set down his wine glass very slowly. You're going to Boston. Yes. To study psychology. Yes. And you're turning down a position at the company. I'm not turning it down. I'm just choosing something else. His face went red. You're choosing to throw away everything I built. I'm choosing to build something of my own. You think you can survive out there? Without this family? Without this name. I'm going to try. He stood up, pointed at the door. You walk out that door, Claire, you're on your own. No money. No support. No safety net. You understand me? I stood up too. My hands were shaking, but I didn't let him see. I understand. I walked out. My mother didn't speak to me for 2 years. Emma called once, 3 months later, and said I'd broken Grandpa's heart. My dad stayed neutral, but distant. Like I was a problem he didn't know how to solve. It was like I'd committed a crime. And maybe, in their eyes, I had. Boston was hard. I worked 3 jobs to pay for school. I waitressed at a diner in the mornings. Did admin work for a law firm in the afternoons. Tutored kids at night. I lived in a shoebox apartment in Alston with 2 roommates. One was a musician who practiced drums at 2 in the morning. The other was a nursing student who cried a lot and ate my food. I didn't ask my family for help. Didn't get any either. I saw Emma's life on social media. Charity galas. Business trips to Atlanta. Smiling next to Grandpa at ribbon-cutting ceremonies. She was living the life they wanted for me. And I was living in a place where the heat didn't work and I had to choose between groceries and textbooks. But I finished my degree. Got my master's. Started working with a nonprofit that provided trauma counseling for kids in foster care. The work was hard. Heartbreaking. But it mattered. I built a life. Small, but mine. And I didn't regret leaving. Years passed. I didn't hear from Grandpa. Not a call. Not a birthday card. Not a single word. Emma stayed. She took a senior role at Donovan Properties. Played her part. Showed up at every family dinner. Every board meeting. Every investor pitch. She became the heir. And I became the ghost. But here's the thing about being forgotten, you get used to it. You stop waiting for the apology. You stop hoping they'll see you. You just move forward. If you want the full truth, hit like so this story reaches more people. I thought that was the end of the story. I was wrong. 3 months ago, I was at work. Sitting in my office, reviewing case files for a 14-year-old girl who'd been in 6 foster homes. My phone rang. Unknown number. North Carolina area code. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. Hello. Heavy breathing. Then a voice I hadn't heard in almost 6 years. Claire. It's your grandfather. My heart stopped. I'd like to see you. If you're willing. I sat there. Phone pressed to my ear. 1,000 emotions crashing into me at once. Anger. Hurt. Confusion. Why no? I asked. Because I'm an old man who made mistakes. And I'd like to fix one of them before it's too late. I stared at the wall. My hands were shaking. I'll think about it, I said. That's all I'm asking. He hung up. I sat in my office for 20 minutes, just staring at my phone. Then I called him back. We met at a diner outside Raleigh. Neutral ground. Halfway between Boston and Charlotte. I drove down on a Saturday. 5 hours. I listened to the same playlist 3 times because I couldn't focus on anything else. When I walked into the diner, I saw him sitting in a corner booth. He looked older. Thinner. His hair was completely gray now. But his eyes were still sharp. Still blue. Still the same eyes that used to look at me like I mattered. Before I ruined everything. He stood up when he saw me. Awkward. Formal. Claire. Grandpa. We sat down. Ordered coffee. Didn't speak for a long time. Finally, he said, I'm not here to apologize. I looked at him. I didn't think you were. He smiled a little. Sad. Tired. You got my stubbornness, he said. Yeah, I did. We talked for 2 hours. He asked about my life. My work. What I did every day. I told him about the kids I worked with. The cases that broke me. The ones that kept me going. He listened. Really listened. He told me about the company. How it had grown. How Emma was doing. How my mother had taken over operations for the retail division. She's good at it, he said. But she's not you. I didn't know what to say to that. I was wrong about you, Claire, he said quietly. Took me too long to see it. But you didn't need me to be someone. You did that yourself. My throat tightened. I thought you hated me, I whispered. I was angry. Hurt. Proud. All the wrong things. He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. But I never hated you. Not for 1 second. Tears blurred my vision. We'll talk again soon, he said. I nodded. 2 weeks later, he had a heart attack. My mother called me. First time in years. Her voice was tight. Controlled. He's asking for you. I flew back to Charlotte that night. Took the red eye. Didn't sleep. Grandpa was in the ICU at Carolina's Medical Center. Tubes. Monitors. Beeping machines. But awake. My mother and Emma were in the hallway when I arrived. My mother looked at me like I was an intruder. Emma just looked tired. 10 minutes, my mother said. He needs rest. I walked into the room. Grandpa's eyes opened when he heard me. Claire, he whispered. I sat beside him. He grabbed my hand with surprising strength. I need you to know something, he said. I changed my will. My heart pounded. What? I'm leaving the company to someone who understands what it means to build something real. Someone who walked away and survived. Someone who didn't need me to be somebody. He looked right into me. That's you. I felt the floor drop out from under me. Grandpa, I don't. Don't argue. It's done. My lawyer has everything. Samuel. He's the only one who knows. Why are you telling me this? Because your mother and Emma, they're going to fight this. They think it's theirs. They've been planning for it. Spending money they don't have yet. His voice got quieter. Be ready. And trust Samuel. He'll protect you. Grandpa. I'm proud of you, Claire. I should have said that years ago. His eyes closed. The monitors beeped. A nurse came in. Told me I had to leave. 3 days later, he passed away. The funeral was held at St. Peter's Cathedral in Charlotte. Over 300 people attended. Business leaders. Politicians. Family. Employees. My mother gave a eulogy. Talked about legacy. Family. Strength. She didn't mention me once. Emma spoke too. She cried. Talked about how Grandpa taught her everything. How she'd carry his vision forward. I sat in the back row. Invisible again. At the reception, I overheard my mother talking to Aunt Margaret in the hallway. She won't get a dime, my mother said. Robert was confused at the end. Sick. Medicated. We'll contest it. Samuel will back us. He has to. Margaret nodded. Emma deserves this. She stayed. Exactly. Claire made her choice. Now she lives with it. I felt sick. I left early. Drove back to my hotel. Sat in the dark. A week later, I got a formal invitation. Heavy cardstock. Embossed gold lettering. You are invited to the reading of Robert Donovan's last will and testament, followed by a private dinner at the Donovan estate. It was scheduled for the following Saturday. Black tie. Family and close business associates only. I almost didn't go. But then I remembered what Grandpa said. Be ready. I bought a black dress. Simple. Professional. I didn't own anything fancy anymore. I drove to the estate on Saturday evening. The sun was setting. The sky was orange and purple. The Donovan estate sat on 12 acres outside Charlotte. Stone driveway. Massive oak trees. Iron gates. The kind of place that whispers old money. I pulled up in my beat-up Honda Civic. Parked between a Mercedes S-Class and a Lexus SUV. I sat in my car for 5 minutes, gripping the steering wheel. Then I got out. Inside, the dining room was lit with crystal chandeliers. A long mahogany table stretched down the center. Plates were set with fine china. Wine glasses gleamed. My mother stood near the fireplace, talking to a board member. She glanced at me. No smile. Just a flicker of something cold. Emma was at the head of the table, laughing with our cousin Daniel. She wore a black cocktail dress. Elegant. Confident. She looked like she belonged. She saw me and waved. Claire, you made it. I nodded. She walked over, hugged me lightly. Her perfume was expensive. I'm glad you're here. Really. I know things have been hard. I didn't believe her. Yeah, I said. Samuel, the lawyer, stood off to the side. Late 60s. Gray suit. Thin framed glasses. Briefcase in hand. He caught my eye and gave a small nod. At 7 sharp, my mother clinked her glass with a fork. Everyone, please sit. We'll begin shortly. Comment ready if you believe she deserved justice. We sat. I was placed near the end of the table, far from my mother, far from Emma. Across from me was Uncle Greg, my mother's brother. Next to him was his wife, Susan. They didn't acknowledge me. My mother stood at the head of the table. "Thank you all for being here tonight," she began. Her voice was strong, controlled. "This has been a difficult time for our family. Losing my father it was devastating. But he would have wanted us to move forward. Together. As a family." Murmurs of agreement around the table. She continued. "Before Samuel reads the will, I want to say something." She looked at Emma. Her eyes softened. "My father built something extraordinary. And he always believed in legacy. In family. In continuity. He believed that the people who stay, who fight, who sacrifice, they're the ones who deserve to carry the torch." She raised her glass. To Emma. "The next generation of Donovan Properties. The woman who stayed. Who believed. Who will carry this forward with the same integrity and vision my father had." Everyone raised their glasses. To Emma. Emma smiled. Tears in her eyes. She stood, nodded graciously, touched her heart. "I won't let him down," she said softly. "I promise." The room applauded. I felt my stomach twist. I looked down at my plate. Then Samuel stood. Samuel opened his briefcase, pulled out a thick manila envelope. "Thank you, Linda," he said calmly. "Now, if I may." My mother sat down. Still smiling. Still confident. Samuel adjusted his glasses. Looked around the room. "I've been Robert Donovan's attorney for 31 years. I've seen this family grow. I've seen this company flourish. And I've watched Robert make many decisions, some easy, most difficult. None more carefully considered than this one." He opened the envelope. Pulled out several documents. Robert Donovan's last will and testament was revised 4 months ago. It was witnessed by 2 independent parties. Notarized. Filed with the state. Legally binding in every respect. My mother's smile tightened just slightly. Samuel continued. Robert was evaluated by 2 licensed physicians prior to signing. Both confirmed full mental competency. No signs of dementia, coercion, or diminished capacity. Their reports are attached. Uncle Greg shifted in his seat. Samuel looked up from the documents. The bulk of the estate, including all shares of Donovan Properties, the real estate holdings, the trust funds, and the Donovan estate property, are bequeathed to. He paused. The room held its breath. Samuel looked directly at me. Claire Marie Donovan. Silence. Complete, suffocating silence. Then chaos. Emma's face went white. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. My mother stood up so fast her chair fell backward and hit the floor with a crash. "That's not possible." Samuel didn't blink. "It's not only possible, Linda. It's done." He was senile. He didn't know what he was doing. He was on medication. He was lucid, evaluated, competent. It's all documented. She left. My mother's voice cracked. She pointed at me. She abandoned him. She turned her back on this family. She doesn't deserve a single dollar. Samuel's tone stayed level, unshaken. Robert believed she deserved everything. Emma finally found her voice. It shook. "Why?" Samuel looked at her. "Because your grandfather didn't want someone who played a role. He wanted someone who built a life without him. Someone who proved she didn't need his money to matter." My mother was shaking. "This is insane. We'll fight this. We'll take it to court. We'll prove he wasn't in his right mind." "You're welcome to try," Samuel said. "But you should know there's more." He pulled out another folder. Thicker. My mother's face drained of color. Robert also included a letter. To be read aloud. Tonight. In front of all witnesses. Emma whispered no. Samuel unfolded the letter. And began to read. "Type yes if you want to see all targets hit at once." The letter. "To my family. If you're hearing this, I'm gone. And you're probably angry. Confused. Maybe even furious. Good. Maybe that means you're finally feeling something real. Linda, I know you expected Emma to inherit everything. You've been grooming her since she was 16. Telling her she was the future. Parading her in front of investors. Making sure everyone knew she was the chosen one. You thought I didn't notice. But I did. I noticed everything. I noticed how you spent money that wasn't yours yet. How you took out loans against an inheritance you assumed was coming. How you made promises to people using my name. I noticed how you never asked what I wanted. You just assumed. Emma, you're a smart girl. Charming. Capable. But you stayed because it was easy. Because you knew what you'd get. That's not strength. That's strategy. You played the part. And you played it well. But I don't want someone who plays a part running what I built. I want someone who's real. Claire left because she had to. Because I gave her no choice. I told her she was nothing without me. I told her she'd fail. And she proved me wrong. She survived. She built something meaningful. She didn't wait for my approval. She didn't need my money. She earned her own respect. That's the kind of person I want running Donovan Properties. Someone who doesn't need it. Someone who'll protect it because it matters, not because it's theirs. I'm leaving everything to Claire because she's the only one who won't take it for granted. Linda, I know you're angry. You've been angry at me for years. For not choosing you. For not seeing you the way you wanted to be seen. I'm sorry for that. But this decision isn't about punishment. It's about protection. Emma, I hope you understand one day. You'll be fine. You're talented. You'll build your own life. But Claire earned this. I'm sorry it took me so long to see that. I'm sorry I made her walk away to prove herself. But I'm not sorry for this choice. With love, respect, and no regrets. Robert Donovan. Samuel folded the letter. The room was dead silent. My mother's hands were trembling. She gripped the edge of the table so hard her knuckles went white. Emma was crying. Not sad tears. Angry ones. Betrayed ones. I sat frozen. Every eye in the room was on me. Samuel turned to me. Claire, if you'll stay after dinner, we'll go over the details. You now own 51% of Donovan Properties. Full control. You also inherit the estate, the trust funds, and all associated assets. Everything. I couldn't breathe. Take your time, Samuel said gently. But the company board meets on Tuesday. They'll want to hear from you. I nodded. Barely. My mother didn't stay for the meal. She grabbed her purse, walked to the door, and slammed it so hard a painting rattled on the wall. Uncle Greg followed her. So did Aunt Margaret. Emma stayed. But she wouldn't look at me. She sat at the other end of the table, staring at her plate. A few people tried to make small talk. Someone mentioned the weather. Someone else talked about a development project in Durham. It was hollow. Painful. I excused myself. Went to the bathroom. Locked the door. Stared at myself in the mirror. My hands were shaking. My face was pale. This wasn't supposed to happen. I splashed cold water on my face. Took deep breaths. When I came back out, most people had left. Emma was standing by the fireplace. Alone. I walked over. Emma. She didn't turn around. You happy now? She said quietly. No. Liar. Emma, I didn't ask for this. She finally turned. Her eyes were red. Mascara smudged. But you got it. Her voice was sharp. Bitter. You left. You chose yourself. And somehow, that made you the hero. I'm not a hero. No. You're just lucky. She grabbed her purse. Enjoy it, Claire. You earned it by running away. She left. I stood alone in that massive room. Chandeliers glittering above me. Empty chairs all around. Samuel approached. You okay? I shook my head. I don't know what to do with this. You'll figure it out. Your grandfather believed in you. That's not nothing. He handed me a thick binder. Heavy. Expensive leather. Everything's in here. Financials. Contracts. Property deeds. Employee records. The board roster. You have full authority now. Majority shareholder. Final say on all decisions. I stared at the binder like it was a bomb. What if I mess it up? Samuel smiled. Sad but kind. Then you'll be human. But I don't think you will. I stayed at a hotel that night. Couldn't bring myself to sleep in the estate. Not yet. I sat on the bed. Opened the binder. Page after page of numbers. Assets. Properties. Contracts. It was overwhelming. But then I saw something. A note. Handwritten. Tucked into the front pocket. Grandpa's handwriting. Claire, I know this is a lot. Take your time. Trust Samuel. Trust yourself. You're stronger than you think. Artie. I cried. For the first time since he died, I let myself cry. The next morning, I called Samuel. I need to see everything, I said. All of it. The loans. The debts. The risks. I want to know what I'm walking into. I'll have it ready by Monday. Share this video so communities understand what was hiding. Monday morning, I met Samuel at the Donovan Properties headquarters. A 12-story building in uptown Charlotte. Glass. Steel. Modern. I walked through the lobby. People stared. Whispered. I took the elevator to the top floor. Executive suite. Samuel was waiting in the conference room. He had files spread across the table. Let's start with the good news, he said. The company is profitable. Strong cash flow. Solid client base. No major lawsuits pending. And the bad news? He slid a file toward me. Your mother took out several loans over the last 10 years. Personal loans. Against expected inheritance distributions. I opened the file. $2 million. She borrowed $2 million? Correct. None of it has been repaid. She claimed it was a gift. Your grandfather disagreed. It's documented here. He showed me notes. Emails. Lawyer correspondence. My mother had been fighting him on it for years. What did she spend it on? Samuel pulled out another file. A beach house in Myrtle Beach. Valued at $900,000. A Range Rover. Several trips to Europe. Investments in a friend's boutique hotel that went bankrupt. I felt sick. And Emma? He hesitated. $600,000. Also unpaid. What? He slid another file over. Emma had taken money for a condo in downtown Charlotte. A car. And a failed business, a high-end clothing boutique that lasted 8 months. Did Grandpa know? He knew everything. He kept meticulous records. He gave them chances to pay it back. They refused. I sat back. That's why he changed the will. That's part of it. But it's not just the money, Claire. It's the attitude. Your mother acted like it was owed to her. Emma acted like it didn't matter. He pulled out one more document. A handwritten note from Grandpa. I will not be made a fool by my own blood. I gave them everything and they treat it like it's nothing. Claire walked away and built something real. That's who deserves this. I stared at the note. What do I do with this? That's up to you. But you should know your mother is planning to contest the will. She's already hired a lawyer. Can she win? No. The medical evaluations are airtight. The will is ironclad. But she can make it expensive. Drag it out. Create bad publicity. I nodded. Let her try. My mother filed a petition 2 weeks later. Claimed undue influence. Mental incapacity. Coercion. Her lawyer was aggressive. Started giving interviews. Painting me as the villain. The runaway daughter who swooped in at the last second and manipulated a dying old man. It was ugly. I hired my own legal team. Samuel recommended a firm out of Raleigh. Tough. Experienced. We fought back hard. We submitted the medical evaluations. The signed affidavits from witnesses. The documented timeline showing Grandpa's full competency. We also submitted the loan records. My mother's lawyer tried to suppress them. Said they were irrelevant. The judge disagreed. This goes directly to motive, the judge said. The court will review all financial records. My mother's case started falling apart. Her lawyer dropped her 3 months in. There's no path to victory here, he told her. She tried to find another lawyer. No one would take the case. 6 months after Grandpa's death, the court ruled in my favor. The will stood. All assets transferred to me. My mother lost. After the ruling, I moved into the estate. It felt strange at first. Walking through rooms I used to hide in as a kid. Sitting in Grandpa's office. But slowly, it started to feel like mine. I went through everything. Every file. Every contract. Every property deed. And I started making changes. The first thing I did was call a board meeting. My first as majority owner. The boardroom was on the 11th floor. Long table. Leather chairs. Wall-to-wall windows overlooking the city. Half the board had been loyal to my mother. They expected me to fail. I could see it in their eyes. I stood at the head of the table. I know some of you don't think I belong here, I said. That's fine. You don't have to like me. But you will respect what my grandfather built. I opened a folder. I also know that some of you were aware of financial irregularities involving family members. Loans that were never formalized. Money that disappeared into personal accounts. Faces shifted. People looked down. I'm not here to punish anyone. But I am here to run this company the right way. Transparent. Accountable. No exceptions. I looked at the CFO. We're hiring an external auditor. Full financial review. We're also implementing new governance policies. Any board member with a conflict of interest will recuse themselves from relevant votes. Silence. If you have a problem with that, you can resign. I'll accept your resignation effective immediately. No one moved. Good. Let's get to work. If this shocked you, comment justice below. Over the next 6 months, I rebuilt the company from the inside out. I hired new people. Young. Hungry. People who cared about the work, not the status. I promoted employees who'd been overlooked for years. People who knew the properties. Who understood the clients. I fired 3 board members who'd been padding their consulting fees. I restructured the loans. Called in deaths. Made tough decisions. And I launched a new initiative, affordable housing development. Grandpa had talked about it for years, but never pulled the trigger. Too risky. Too low margin. But I believed in it. We partnered with a nonprofit. Bought land in underserved neighborhoods. Built quality housing for working families. It wasn't the most profitable division. But it mattered. The board pushed back. This isn't our model, one member said. It is now, I replied. 8 months after the will was finalized, I got a text from Emma. Can we talk? I stared at it for a long time. Then I replied. Coffee? Yes. Tomorrow. We met at a cafe in Myers Park. Neutral ground. She was already there when I arrived. Sitting in the corner. She looked thinner. Tired. I sat down. Hi. Hi. Silence. She stirred her coffee. Didn't look at me. I'm sorry, she said finally. For what? For everything. For what I said. For being angry. You had a right to be angry. Maybe. But I was also wrong. She looked up. Her eyes were red. I thought I was supposed to be the one. I thought that's what family meant. That if I stayed, if I did everything right, I'd get what I deserved. Emma. But that's not how it works. I see that now. She wiped her eyes. You left because you had to. And you built something. I stayed because it was easy. And I expected everything. I didn't know what to say. I'm not asking for anything, she said quickly. I just wanted you to know. I get it now. Why Grandpa chose you. I reached across the table. Squeezed her hand. Thank you. We talked for an hour. It was awkward. Painful. But real. She told me she'd gotten a job. Marketing firm in Raleigh. Starting over. It's weird, she said. Being normal. Normal's not so bad. She smiled a little. Maybe not. We're not close. But we're not enemies either. That's something. I haven't spoken to my mother since the court ruling. She moved to Florida. Sold the beach house to pay off debts. I heard she's living in a condo in Sarasota. Working part-time at a real estate office. I didn't forgive the loans. She never asked me to. Part of me feels guilty. Part of me doesn't. She made her choices. I made mine. Maybe one day we'll talk. Maybe we won't. I'm okay with either. I visit Grandpa's grave every month. It's in a cemetery outside Charlotte. Quiet. Trees everywhere. I bring flowers. Sit on the grass. I'm doing my best, I tell him. Hope that's enough. Some days I tell him about the company. The new projects. The challenges. Other days I just sit. Listen to the wind. I miss you, I say. I like to think he'd be proud. Not because I'm running the company, but because I'm doing it my way. It's been a year since that dinner. Donovan Properties is thriving. We landed 2 major contracts. Expanded into 3 new markets. The affordable housing project in Durham is almost full. We're breaking ground on a second project in Winston-Salem. The board respects me now. Not because of my name. Because of my work. I hired a new CFO. A woman named Patricia who's brilliant and doesn't take anyone's shit. I promoted 3 employees to VP roles. All of them people Grandpa believed in but never elevated. I live in the estate now. It doesn't feel haunted anymore. It feels like home. I still work with a nonprofit in Boston. Remotely. I couldn't leave that behind. I found a balance. I also started dating someone. A teacher named Marcus. He doesn't care about the money. He cares about who I am. That's new. Life isn't perfect. There are hard days. Lonely days. But I'm building something real. And I'm doing it on my terms. Last week, we had our quarterly board meeting. I presented the financials. Strong growth. Healthy margins. New opportunities on the horizon. At the end, one of the older board members, a man named Harold who'd worked with Grandpa for 20 years, raised his hand. I just want to say something. The room went quiet. When Robert first told me he was leaving everything to Claire, I thought he'd lost his mind. He looked at me. I thought you'd run this company into the ground. I braced myself. But I was wrong. You've done something I didn't think was possible. You've honored what he built while making it better. You've made tough calls. You've taken risks. And you've earned every bit of respect in this room. He raised his coffee cup. To Claire. And to Robert. Who saw something the rest of us couldn't. The room raised their cups. I felt my throat tighten. Thank you, I said quietly. After the meeting, Patricia pulled me aside. You know you're doing something incredible, right? I'm just trying not to screw it up. You're doing more than that. You're building a legacy. I thought about that. Maybe she was right. 2 weeks ago, I got an email. From my mother. The subject line was blank. The message was short. I saw the article about the housing project. Your grandfather would have been proud. I'm sorry I couldn't see that sooner. Mom. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't reply. Not because I was angry, but because I didn't know what to say. Maybe one day I will. Maybe that's enough. They toasted my sister. They celebrated the heir they wanted. But my grandfather knew the truth. Legacy isn't about who stays. It's about who grows. It's about who's willing to walk away from everything to find out who they really are. It's about proving you don't need the money to matter. And then, only then, are you ready to protect it. I left because I had to. I came back because I was ready. And now I'm building something that's bigger than me. Bigger than my name. Bigger than the mistakes we all made. I'm building something real. If this story moved you, hit that like button. Let me know in the comments, have you ever been underestimated by your own family? Drop the word legacy below. And subscribe for more real, raw, truth-based stories about justice, betrayal, and the strength it takes to walk your own path. Because sometimes, the black sheep becomes the shepherd. Sometimes, the one who leaves is the one who saves everything. And that's exactly what I did.